Hello, my name is Lisa Shea, and this video is part of my series on horror stories, horror authors, horror books, horror readers, and all sorts of things horror. So in this particular case, we're talking about Taking Her Turn, which is a 15-page short story, 23 words, and I'll be talking about a lot of spoilers in this, so if you haven't read it yet and care about that sort of thing, I would recommend going and reading the story. If it doesn't bother you to get spoilers, then that is fine, and we will plow forward. So this story is based on real-life experiences I've had in several networking groups that I belong to. It seems in many networking groups that there are those who talk quickly and talk rapidly on top of each other and are comfortable with that kind of rhythm. And then there are those who talk slowly, and they take more time putting their thoughts together, and they wait for an opening in the conversation before they start talking. And unfortunately, if you get a couple of fast-talking, energetic speakers in a group, they never leave any space for the slow talkers to even offer a thought. So while the slow talkers may have very interesting and valuable thoughts to share, they never get an opportunity because the conversation is just clipping along at such a pace that they never get a space in there to talk about things. So that was the mindset I had when I started this process of writing this particular story. So in this story, we've got Mary, who's part of one of these networking groups, and Mary is one of those slow, methodical kinds of thinkers. She runs an art gallery. She has a lot of wonderful creative stories to share and ideas to share, but the other members of the group just race along at such a fast clip, and one could also say that they're not caring enough or aware enough to realize that they're leaving behind one of their group members by doing this. So Mary goes to these groups because she really wants to make her art gallery functional, and she wants to be able to interact with this networking group. But every time she goes, she feels just left behind and unlistened to and so on. So here we've got the group all chatting along and talking about things, and Mary's finally able to find a spot to start speaking about something, and the group just plows right over her and goes on to another topic. And I think most of us can relate to that even happening to them at some point when they had something important that they wanted to say, and it seemed like people just plowed forward and talked about other things and didn't even care. And it's a very unhappy feeling when you have that happen, as if your opinion isn't worth anything. So she's sad about this, and she hears the conversation go along. And also what it tends to do is the person who's in this situation then gets trained by the situation not to even try anymore, because it's not even worth it. You sit there waiting and waiting for your chance, and you never even get it anyway, so why even try? So the group is chattering on around her. Someone asks for the bowl of nuts, and she accidentally spills salt into the nut bowl, and she hands it out to the group anyway. And suddenly everyone's grabbing for drinks because they want to drink something. And she realizes that she gets a chance to talk finally. She's shut all the other group members up. They've all got drinks in their mouths, and she gets a chance to talk, and she gets rewarded for it. Everyone is thrilled by her story. They're happy. So it's not like she was trying to tell boring stories. She had interesting stories to tell that they would have liked if they just took a moment and let her tell her story too. So she is happy that they got to hear her story. She's happy that they all loved the story. And now she's got a plan going forward, because this worked one time, so why shouldn't it work another time? So she practices the story, but that's not ever been her problem, really. The problem has been getting people just to be quiet for a length of time. So she practices her magic tricks to be able to get the sleight of hand going so that she can get salt into something, so she can get the people to all stop and drink. So this time she works on it with pretzels. She puts the salt in the pretzels. She gets it out to everybody, everyone goes and drinking, and she's able to tell her story. So now she's proven over time that this really does work and that she can keep doing this. So now she's got her biggest group ever. She's got them all planned out. She's no longer angry during the process of the group talking to each other because she knows she'll get her turn. She just has to wait it out until she gets to her point, and she'll have a guaranteed spot. So she dives her salt in, she hands it around to everyone, everyone starts grabbing for their drinks, and she starts her story, and then everyone else realizes that one of the characters, Big Jim, is having an actual medical issue because she's oversalted him so much. And they're calling 911, and they're calling for a doctor, and if she had been an empathetic character, she would have realized her mistake and gone, and she didn't have to admit that she put the salt in the peanuts, but she could have tried to help save him or tried to do something instead of focusing on herself. But instead what she does, not only does she get caught as being the culprit, but then she doesn't even apologize or say I'm sorry or try to help him. She just plows forward with her story. All the thing that she cares about is her story and telling her story even while someone is dying right in front of her. So this goes back to some of my other stories that talked about psychopaths and sociopaths, how they're lacking empathy and how their only focus tends to be on what they can get for themselves, and it doesn't matter if other people are hurt in the process. So that's where she has come around to. And she's probably on the sociopath side because she's not charming and able to lure people into her point of view. She has more of the rage built up and she acts on situations out of rage. So now she's in the courtroom and she's going to finally get her chance to talk to people and have all sorts of people listen to her story and her point of view and her tale. But the doctors have given her medicine to calm her down. And this medicine makes her so unable to talk now that she can't even advocate for herself. So she's got her opportunity, her once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to talk, and it's been stolen from her, so she isn't able to say anything. And she gets put into a facility, which is probably the best place for her if this is the way she's looking at the world. So now she's in the facility, and one could say, well, at least now she has people who are going to perhaps listen to her. She'll have therapists to listen to her. She'll have fellow people in the facility who are telling their stories and will listen to her stories. But again, they've given her so much medicine that she isn't even able to talk or advocate for herself or tell her stories. So even when she's in what one could say is probably the best place for her, in a place where she can share and be heard, she's also lost that opportunity there too. So I think this also goes back to a recurring theme in my stories, which is losing your ability to communicate and not be able to talk and share information and not being heard, not being cared about the things that you're trying to communicate. So a number of my different themes are intertwining here in this particular story. So let me know if you have any questions about the characters here. On one hand, you could say she's an unreliable narrator, but on the other hand, I think this story is pretty straightforward enough that you know what's happening and you know why it's happening and you have a sense of every step along the way, compared with some of my other stories which may be a bit more confusing about what the storyline was going to be. But still, let me know if you have questions about something I didn't cover here. Let me know if you have questions about how I wrote it or how I chose the scenes that I did. Put comments in if you write similar kinds of stories and have an interest in getting some feedback on them. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to talk with you in the future videos. Great, and have a good evening.